Well, within the past few minutes, in other news, the Ukrainian parliament has repealed a controversial law putting strict controls on protests. The move by politicians comes just a short time after the prime minister resigned in an attempt to end a political crisis there. Protesters have been on the streets for 2 months calling for more cooperation with Europe, and many want the president to quit. Nick Spicer is joining us from Kiev with the very latest from there, Nick.
The very latest is the resignation of Mykola Azarov, the prime minister, embattled really for the past few weeks and despised by the people in the streets who saw him as responsible for the violence of the various police crackdowns, particularly here in the capital, but also elsewhere in the city. He handed in his resignation, and the president has accepted it, which begs the question of who next? Because the president tried to co-opt the opposition, I think we can safely say, by offering the prime minister's post to one of their leaders, Arseny Yatsenyuk, who is the leader of the same party as Yulia Tymoshenko, the famous jailed opposition leader, and he said, no thanks. So there's a question of who will be the next prime minister, but one of the other opposition leaders, the former heavyweight boxer Vitaly Klitschko, said that just having the prime minister gone was already one small step. A big step would be the departure of President Viktor Yanukovych, which is what most of the people in the streets of Kiev and elsewhere in Ukraine say they want to see.
And Nick, what about the anti-protest law that the members of parliament were meeting on, in fact, at that session earlier today?
That went through really without a hitch. The only holdouts were the handful of Communist Party members, a holdover from Soviet times, who appeared to think that keeping those draconian laws in place was a good idea. They didn't allow people to demonstrate unless they had previous authorization. They took away your driver's license if you took part in a car rally that was a sort of a political car rally containing more than 5 cars. It's been a bit spooky here, where demonstrators, for instance, out on this square got text messages saying you are now registered as somebody taking part in civil disturbance, just spamming out all kinds of text messages. That's been the climate here. All of that rescinded in a massive vote. It's interesting that it went through so easily because yesterday, that is to say, right after the Justice Ministry was seized here, the Justice Minister was saying, well, we're not going to vote this through until everybody pulls off the square and stops occupying administrative headquarters. So I think it gives you an idea of the relative position of strength of the opposition parties, politicians, but especially the opposition in the street, that this went through so easily.